All right, here we are. Andor. Last 3 episodes dropped, season finale, and damn, what a ending to a
Dude,
great show
series finale.
series. What I say?
You said season. This is it. We're we're
Yeah,
we're
this is it.
done.
Yeah, we're
We are
done.
done now, which is fucking sad because,
It is. It really
dude,
is.
this was so epic. That's the only way to put it, man. It was amazing.
Everything about it was amazing.
Well, not everything, because these first 3 episodes of this season was horrible. Well, compared to the rest of it, it was horrible, but it's still better than most of the Disney shit. It's just amazing how this enhances Rogue One, because once I was done with episode 12, of course, it popped up and said, "Hey, here's Rogue One." I was like, "Fuck yeah, let's do it." It just made it better. It tied together.
Yeah, man, it really tied the room together.
So you could almost say with season 1, season 2, and Rogue One, that's its own little trilogy. I will say that is the best Star Wars trilogy next to the original 3. Well, next to the original trilogy.
Man, this is such a good story. The way they tell, especially these last 3 episodes. My God, do they just
Yeah,
you're just
because I
glued
was
to the
I was
TV?
worrying about them sticking the landing, but my God, the writing was on par. There wasn't quite as much action and stuff with the last block. The story is just amazing. There wasn't quite as much action, but there was a lot more suspense in this one.
The
In
suspense.
in this block, because man, even like the last one, you're just so anxious and tensed up. I haven't been this emotionally invested in a show in a long time.
Gay!
This, I was just totally drawn in. Of course, this is something that's been with me almost my entire life. I was a huge Star Wars fan as a kid, so we've got 40 plus years of being a fan of this stuff. Totally invested, and I'm on the edge of my seat, and I loved it. Loved every moment of it, of the last 2 blocks.
Yeah, it was great. It opens up with we see the infamous beacon in Luthen's shop going off.
The oh
And it
shit beacon.
kinda reminded me of like an Aliens thing, when you see the thing flashing inside the
Yeah,
ship.
very reminiscent of that. But yeah, we find out that it's Lonnie summoning him. He found some interesting information.
Yeah, and how he found it. So he gets, I guess, Deidre's cert, finds all this information about the Death Star, Galen Erso.
Basically, the Emperor's energy program is a front for the Death Star.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
he has all the information to tie it together with Galen Erso, Jeddah, Scarif, Gorman, pulling all the Kyber from Jeddah and building it over Scarif, and then we know about Gorman.
Those 2 talking, I mean, that was intense
Oh,
because
I know.
I did not see Luthen killing him.
Well, I did, because there's no way. He even said it. If they knew what he had right then, he's dead. And there's no way he can bring an ISB officer to Yavin, because that's the fallback point.
True. Yeah, true.
So yeah, as soon as he started spilling it, the scope of it, you know he's got to go, because you just cannot bring him into the fold, even though he was super pivotal in all of this. You just can't. We ultimately see how the people on Yavin reacted to just the information. Now
Yeah.
imagine bringing an official ISB officer into that. They would
Yeah.
go ape shit.
It would have been a little crazy.
Yeah,
But still
so
kinda sucks.
yeah,
I really
he's
liked him.
and plus, you know how Luthen is, so I never thought Lonnie was ever gonna walk away from that. Yeah,
He left
because
his newborn child and wife, that kinda sucks.
yeah, it does, but it's kinda what he signed up for.
I guess it was a fitting end. I mean, he was a great character too. I really liked him. So,
Yeah, because
it
talking
was a
about putting everything on the line, that's the guy that did, and did
yeah.
it day after day for fucking years.
Yes, he did. But that job would have been so stressful.
Dude had to been wrecked.
Yeah. He had to have been wrecked. Emotionally, he had to have been just
Yeah.
gone.
I couldn't imagine. Couldn't even imagine. But yeah, he was a great character. That's what happens when you have good writing. You can have
Yes,
good
yes.
characters.
It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, it's so amazing. It's about time Disney started doing it.
Well, speaking of the great characters, what about fucking Deidre? Dude shows up at Luthen's shop. as he's pouring that acid stuff on the comms. As soon as she showed up, I was like, "Oh shit!"
Yeah, and
That's when
then
I knew Luthen was done. Sadly,
and then she's kind of playing it off like she's got a relic for him.
yeah,
It ends up
yeah.
being the Star Path unit from the very first episodes of the series.
Again, good writing, bringing it all the way back from the first damn season of what Cass stole and gave Luth, like what he had to offer, like
Yeah,
what he was trying to sell, and she brings it back, puts it right on his doorstep.
Again, it's like poetry, so if they rhyme.
it's amazing what competency can achieve.
I mean, that scene was great. It really was. Them talking back and forth, and you knew why she was there. You knew she wasn't having
Oh,
some,
yeah. Yeah, you knew why she
So
was there, and you knew the whole little cat and mouse game is kinda to waste some time and draw some more suspense, but when Luthen talks about how there's only 2, questionable items in the shop, the funny thing is he only talks about the knife, so that leaves you wondering, well, not really wondering, but to me, he was talking about himself about being the other questionable thing in the shop.
I thought I talked about Daedra, but maybe not.
No, because what's questionable about her?
She's a bitch.
Bitch, she's a big fat bitch, she's the biggest bitch in the whole wide world.
There's no question about that, dude. No, because she's Empire through and through. Even though
Yeah,
she's
true.
willing to break the Empire rules to get her end game, which ultimately was her undoing. But yeah, no, I took it as he was talking about himself. At that point, he knows he's caught.
Yeah, he knows
She's
he's
just
caught.
kind of toying with him at that moment, so he's toying right back.
I was really hoping he had some grand exit strategy or something, but as soon as he pulled out that knife, showed her that knife, I was like, "Oh, that's how he's gonna do it."
Yeah, I had once again, just because he's never mentioned in Rogue One, never thought he'd make it out of this series.
Yeah, it's kind of sad.
But in this episode, we also get a little bit of backstory on Luthen because we
Yeah,
find out at one point he was with the Empire. He was a soldier, and then that's where he came across Clea.
but the de-aging they did on him looked really good. Normally, it
Yeah.
looks like something from your nightmares, but this one actually looked really good.
But yeah, he was a soldier. He finds Clea hiding in his ship. He's in the ship because the rest of his unit is outside just slaughtering people, and he just had enough and couldn't take it, and ends up breaking down.
Yeah, he's full PTSD. But we
Yeah.
forgot to mention he's on life support now. He tried to kill himself, but they
While Deidre and Luthen are doing their little cat and mouse game. When Dedra's showing off, Luthen has his back to her the whole time, and she's just doing her monologue.
she
He's
was so
like,
proud of herself too.
yeah,
Was
she
so proud of
was. And
herself.
he's like, really, bitch? You got me? How about this? And he tries to Harry Carey.
And now I realize why after that scene when she's freaking out saying you cannot let him die. He cannot
Yeah.
die. Now I realize, why she was freaking out.
Because that she went over everybody's heads. She was stealing information, and she authorized this search warrant by herself. Nobody knew what was going on. She was doing this on her own because she wanted the glory because she was so obsessed with this Axis program.
Cyril, man, all because of Cyril. He was obsessed with it and it transferred over to her.
Well, he was obsessed with Andor.
Yeah, with Cass.
But yeah, in the flashbacks, we see the moment that breaks Luthen, and that is the big bang, you could say, of the rebellion. There's no doubt about it. Luthen was the rebellion in the beginning.
Yeah. Yeah. And while that's playing out, she's inside the hospital. She's trying to go get Luthen and put him out of his misery, basically.
Yeah.
And that's when we see all the flashbacks. And whenever that thing explodes and then she blows up all those cars, I think they were. I'm not sure what they were.
Yeah.
It's pretty epic. She's
They
awesome.
they make it
She's believable.
believable.
Yeah.
That's the whole
Believable.
thing. When you're a competent writer, you can do that.
Yes.
You don't have to be so outlandish. You keep it within the realms of what you have to work with. She is completely believable. And that's the thing is I've always enjoyed that character. I wish they had more with her. And then we get it in this. I'm like, holy shit.
She's awesome.
I think she's probably the strongest female in that rebellion.
Yeah. Yeah.
She was amazing because she was going to sacrifice herself to get Luthen out of there. because she was gonna go back and destroy the comms. So then she would have been the one there to encounter Dedra, but he wouldn't let it.
Well, I think he knew that his time was coming up. Wanted her to keep living her life. It's pretty crazy. I was kind of afraid she was gonna get caught or something, or something was gonna happen. I was thinking they're both gonna die with the knowledge of the Death Star.
Then yeah, you got to realize she has to get out because other than Luthen, she's the only person left living that's not working for the Empire.
Yeah, and knows about what they're doing.
Yeah. So she makes it out and goes back to the apartment that Luthen's had and used forever to stash people.
Yeah, it was Cassian's old apartment. Him and Biggs were staying there.
Yeah. They had a Morse code messenger thing stashed in a wall. So she has to tear into a wall to get this thing, almost like the red alert beacon that she had. I guess it was just reaching out to Wilman.
Yeah, reaching out to Wilman.
And that just shows Luthen thought of Wilman.
Yeah. Well, I thought it was funny though. So she's hitting the wall to get that thing out, and then we also see on the other side where the Empire is inside Luther's shop. They're trying to get the signal to work, and that lady who's working on the device is like, "Yeah, it's not. We're gonna have to take it back," And then all of a sudden it starts working. I just thought that dynamic was pretty funny. There was some humor in that. I really thought that was good. But while all this is going on, Deidre is being interrogated by Krennic. That was badass.
Not only is just the scene great, but like script wise, but visually, like when he comes walking up behind her and hovering over her, oh, it's just so awesome. Love it. Love it.
It was awesome. He's accusing her of being a spy.
Her being the spy.
because,
Yeah.
like, how does this guy Lonnie have your cert info, your password, and your
Yeah. Believing that she gave it to him.
yeah, and the Empire they just don't care.
Also questioning why she has stuff that she's not authorized to have.
Yeah, because I need this information to try to get access, or
Access.
yeah, access.
Yeah, because they were withholding stuff that would have benefited her. So yeah, she basically had to go and steal it, scavenge it, hoard
Yeah.
it all so she could make it all tie together. Her obsession was her ultimate undoing.
I thought it was kind of ironic, right? Her obsession to catch Luthen and bring him down, which she did, was her own undoing. Pretty epic.
Yeah. Because it makes sense. She ultimately killed Cyril.
Yeah, she did. Yeah.
Because of the betrayal, if he got tied up in the massacre. So she's going to double down because she's just a workaholic anyways. So that's what she's going to do, is go back to what she was obsessed with and just burrow deeper and deeper into that obsession. And yeah, ultimately it was her undoing. It's just chef's kiss. It was so great.
It was. It was. I love that scene though with Krennic when he puts his finger on her head.
Yeah.
In that moment, you see in her eyes, her face, that she knows she's fucked. She knows her life is over. Her job with the Empire is done. You can see it in her face. That was something else. That was badass. Krennic, man, I that guy.
He's underutilized, but my God, his appearances in this episode was just amazing.
Yeah, it was pretty amazing. So we kind of already talked about Kayla sending a message for help.
Wilman gets it, takes a while, but then ultimately he tells Andor, and Andor thinks it's probably Luthen because it is Luthen's devices. So him and Melshi run off.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, and K2SO to rescue Luthen, I guess.
Yeah, they don't know who it is. They're hoping, they think it's Luthen, but yeah, turns out it's not.
Yeah, but in this, they take off. They refuse to tell anybody in the rebellion because they know they're going to stop them, because once they do, they threaten to shoot them down, but they jump to hyperspace.
Yeah, that apartment scene was epic. It was so intense. The suspense, because like you see the Empire getting closer and closer, then they finally get to a building, and I think it cuts to the next episode, and you're just like, oh my God, what? That's why I want to know what's going on.
You got Cassian and Melshi going in. They're in there with Clea, and then that's when the Empire shows up outside. That's pretty much the end of that episode.
Yeah.
They also cut the comms on them.
that the scene with the apartment. So we got the troopers coming in. They're all like locked and loaded, badass. It's so funny when Melchi comes out, he's just stuck there, right? And
Yeah,
they
they
have the
say, "Don't
lights on.
make any moves." And
Don't make any move.
he's like, "Fuck it," runs back.
Thought that was pretty funny. Freaking K, man, K2, dude, that guy is hilarious and he's badass. Whenever he's walks out and that and that trooper's like, "Did you guys call in what are they called?"
KX droids,
Yeah,
security droid.
the security droids. And then he just knocks him off the bridge. I was like, that is funny. That whole scene was freaking awesome. And then like to top it off, the dude who took over for Deidre, like he's not fit to be there. Like he's
Oh
not
no,
a badass like the other guys. He's just over there in the corner trying to stay out of the line of fire. And then he ends up being used as a meat shield, which was so funny. I love how he just had him in front of him the whole time, and they're just shooting him the whole time. It just that was awesome. That was so awesome. Man, what a last episode. They tied it together so well. They really did.
oh yeah,
Then we see Cass coming back in hot from his little mission, saving.
yeah. Trying to get Clea to a doctor as quick as possible because in the fight with the Empire, they threw like a stun grenade and it messed her up pretty bad.
Yeah, it did. Yeah.
But yeah, they come back in, and it's since the rebels don't know what has happened because this was unsanctioned and everything. They hadn't had any comms with them the whole time. They don't know who the hell's on board, why they're coming in hot like that. They're threatening to shoot him down again.
Yeah. During that, Kay had the funniest line.
I planned to tell him I was kidnapped.
Yeah, I laughed my ass off whenever he said that. So Cass makes it back to the Senate. Is that what they're called? The Senate or the council?
No, it's basically makes it back to Yavin, which is where all the rebels are, and tells them the information that Luthen passed on. And of course, they don't believe him.
Yeah, which is kind of fucked up.
Well, they do believe it. The information was being passed on, but they don't know if it's a trap or not.
Yeah.
So basically, they want it vetted before they're going to do anything. The only one that kind of believes it is Mon because she has that history with Luthen and knows that he knows his stuff.
Yeah.
And it's brought up because they asked Cassian the last time that he talked to him, and he says pretty much the day that he rescued Mon Mothma. And then it kind of looks over at Bail Organa because Bail's rescue attempt got infiltrated by the Empire.
That's right. Yeah.
And because Luthen kind of went over his head and went straight to Mon and said, hey, don't go with him. She owes her life to Luthen, so yeah, that's why she believes it. But he's been a thorn in the rest of the rebel side somehow. Well, because he wouldn't conform, he kept doing his own thing, kind of like Saw.
Yeah, like so. Yeah.
The intelligence that he gathered is what kept them going. Why would you want him to change?
Yeah, exactly.
Because they just come from different worlds, pretty much, because they're all senators. So that's the world they know, is trying to go the diplomatic route, but it's not going to work. We find out that there's a dude that's just constantly messaging and will only talk to Cassian.
Yeah.
And that ends up being the guy that he goes and visit at the very beginning of Rogue One that has the information about the defected pilot.
Oh, yeah. So to tie everything together, what do we hear playing? Nimic's message.
Oh, yeah, Nimic.
Yeah. Goes back around. The message he saved for Cass after that job they did. And now it's everywhere. And they can't snuff it out.
But yeah, so while that's playing, it shifts over to ISB. And then we last see Partagaz. And he stops the message because somebody came in and said, I imagine you've heard this before. And the guy says parts of it. Well, ultimately, that guy was coming to arrest Partagaz, and he asked for a moment. And then that shot is just Partagaz sitting there by himself in the ISB kind of boardroom. That was just kind of poetic, because the first time we see him, he's sitting in the same spot at the head of the table with everybody around him because he's ruling everything. And now it's fallen apart so much because of I don't know if it's ultimately because of how he was trying to find Clea, but basically all the resources
Yeah.
stretched so thin because of that,
You're
which
right.
was a good idea.
Because what the
Uh,
story he came up with about the disease comes back to haunt him whenever he's trying to get
yeah,
someone to come help. Like, everyone's out on
yeah.
this, trying to find this
So
disease.
ultimately, they get away, and since he was overseeing that and was the reason resources were stretched so thin, he has to take the fall. He knows how it's gonna end up, so
Yeah, yeah, he does.
he doesn't want to go that way. So he ends up shooting himself.
Yep. When he does it, you see the guys outside, stormtroopers hear it, they're about to come in, and there's another guy's like, "No,
Just a
just stay."
little simple hand wave.
Yeah, because he knew what he was gonna do, like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's pretty crazy, the conclusion to his story, to Partagaz's story, like, it's pretty interesting how they tied that up. It was pretty epic. I did not see that coming at all.
Yeah. Yeah, it was really good. And then we just Cassian's on his way to go see that guy. Partagaz just offs himself, and then we start seeing everybody else in the picture.
Yeah.
We ended up seeing Perrin in the back of a car. He's still living his life of luxury, and it looks like he's got Skulden's wife with him, all passed out, drunk.
Yeah, he looks a little stressed out. He doesn't look the same.
Yeah. And then we get a glimpse of Miss Marrow. She's in that lovely white and orange uniform of the prisons,
Kinda fitting, right? That she sent so many people to these prisons,
and now
and
she's fucking losing it.
yeah, she's losing it. She's stuck there for until she dies.
Oh
So they,
yeah,
she's never getting out. Yeah, it's kind of fitting. I saw that. I was like, holy shit. It all came back. They I always wondered if there's another reason for them to show that whole prison scene besides them making the parts for the Death Star. Fucking tied it all together where Deidre ends up being there probably making parts for the fucking Death Star.
yeah,
That's that is epic. That is just epic storytelling at its finest. Man, that was so awesome to see her in it. And you kind of called it. I'll be honest. You did kind of call it because we were talking about Daedra and what's going to happen with her, and you said, well, she may lose her mind. What she looked kind of like she was losing her mind.
Pull your tongue out of my arsehole.
oh, most definitely. Yeah, she was losing it. Well, how would you not?
Yeah,
Especially
I was
knowing
not.
that you did that to yourself.
Yep, she was her own undoing. As soon as she arrested or they went in there to
Tried
get
to arrest.
yeah Luthen, her career was over. And
Yeah,
yeah.
but then we cut to Mina Rao, and
Yeah.
we see my buddy.
You see your buddy, exactly. I was like, "Oh shit, there he is."
And I was like, they gotta show B2 somehow.
Yeah.
And then he's there, and then we find out that's where Bix went, was back to Mina Rao.
Yep. And what did she have with her? Fucking Cass's baby.
A fucking leech.
It's so fitting because we know Cass's end, and then he has, well, a child, which
Yeah.
is pretty fucking awesome.
It was great. It was
It's pretty
great.
epic.
And yeah, and then yeah, the last thing we get is Bix holding Cass's baby, their child, staring off into the sunset as Cassian's heading off to pretty much his demise.
Yeah, which is so sad, because so
Oh,
sad.
but we missed one thing when Cass was heading off of Yavin to go
We
meet
see that.
that guy. He
Yeah, we see,
passes the force healer
yeah,
again,
the force healer. Yeah.
which of course in his mind is just reaffirming I'm a messenger. I have to go do this.
Yeah.
Where when he first met her, he didn't believe, but now he does. So
It's so crazy how a show can be so good. How all the loose connections, how all the questions, how everything can tie back in. The prison system, Cassian, Luthen, how all the characters all tied into the same story. They all just so written so good.
yeah, it's like somebody went in and had some intelligence and was prepared and had an outline, an overarching outline for the whole story.
Yeah, it's
Uh,
pretty remarkable.
yeah,
Pretty
it's a concept that I don't think that Disney is aware of, but it works out when that happens. Because just imagine if they had given Tony Gilroy the sequel trilogy
or full
and
reigns
he
on Mandalorian, because even that got fucked up. say if you gave them full reins, because it seems like this show they kind of gave them full reins to do what
Because
they
they thought
wanted.
it was a throwaway pretty much, and it's turned out to be, so far, Disney's magnum opus when it comes to Star Wars.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, like this makes me want to watch other Star Wars shit, but I know what's the point because the rest of it all sucks compared to this.
And then you gotta look at everything else they've done. That's why a lot of this isn't getting near the recognition it should because they have just torn it down. It's just great writing. I'm satisfied. Yeah, they tripped on their dick with the first 3 episodes. After that, they brought it back in and just built and built, and I was worried about these last 3, but they did it, man. Hats off to Tony and Dan Gilroy and
Yeah,
everybody associated with this series.
yeah, they did a
It
great job,
it
man.
has it has restored my faith in storytelling, especially in Star Wars storytelling.
They did a great job. I was
Yeah.
highly impressed.
Makes me so sad because this could be the last really good Star Wars we ever get.
Hopefully not, but yeah, yeah, it could be.
I don't have a lot of hope at this point, unless what's her nuts, Kathleen Kennedy said she wants to go out on a high note. I hope this is the high note because this is the best thing that Disney has done with Star
Yeah,
Wars since they bought it.
yeah, it really is.
And that could give me hope for the future if she's gone, unless Dave Filoni steps in her place, and then it's just gonna be more of the same.
All right, well, that is a ending to an epic, epic show. I can only hope Disney doesn't fuck up anything else. If they just could copy this formula, do something good,
Well, no, don't copy it. We don't wanna fucking clone.
make other stuff
Yeah,
good.
no, just hire, competent people that know how to tell a story.
Exactly. To do that, then maybe I'll watch some other Star Wars shit. Until then, this is the best Star Wars anything I've watched since the original trilogy, like you mentioned. Anyways, that's all we got. Thanks for checking us out. Thanks for staying tuned, and we'll catch you on the next video. Peace out.